What's up, Big 12 Nation? It's Tuesday night in America. That can only mean one thing. Another edition of The Biggest 12. I, of course, am your host, Clint Foster. Thank you so much for tuning in here on another beautiful Tuesday night. We got a great show for you today. But before I get to any of that, what are you doing if you have not already subscribed to the show? You need to answer for yourself at this point. There's no excuse. Ignorance of the law is certainly not an excuse, and ignorance of supposedly our handle is also not an excuse for subscribing. So do it right now at Big 12 BOCFB. There it is right there in plain white letters. Something just fell apart in my house. Subscribe, like and subscribe. Do the thing. Share it with your friends and family. Speaking of which, I hope you had a wonderful Resurrection Sunday, or alternatively, Transgender Visibility Day. You know, whatever floats your boat. I hope it was a wonderful Easter weekend for you, and that you had time, hopefully at church, if that's the way that you swing. If not, hopefully time with friends and family, the people that you love. You know, that's what I really want for you. I want you to enjoy your life. It's not very long, right? Anyway, like and subscribe, share at Big 12 Voice of College Football. There it is right there. It's not just the biggest 12, man. I mean, that's the reason that you're going to subscribe. Let's be honest. It's the main ticket, right? We're the e-ticket attraction around here. The Biggest 12, your favorite Big 12 related college football show, even here in the off season. But there's a lot more great stuff going on the Big 12 Voice of College Football. The only way you're going to know about it is if you subscribe and if you turn on that little ding-a-ling notification bell. Speaking of which, new stuff, I mentioned this last week. If you are not a hater, and if your boat floats in this direction, there is a new Texas channel, Texas as in Longhorns, not the great state of, coming very soon. There's a launch party next Monday, this coming Monday, April the 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern time on the main Voice of College Football channel, as well as the Texas channel that is sprouting from the ground. So, if that's your thing, you know what? More power to you. Go take that Texas business someplace else. You're going to have a lovely place to go, okay? Lovely place to commiserate with your fellow burnt orange brethren, all right? And, of course, as always, if you have not already followed me on Twitter, you should do so. Follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 or X, if you're so inclined. And follow my YouTube channel. Here it comes scrolling along right there, baby, at Clint Foster Comedy. Got a new video out for you. Maybe you missed that. Channeling my inner Troy McClure from The Simpsons. I had a little bit of fun with that one, something I could bang out quickly. I am going to make rivalry draft videos. I've heard people being like, oh my God, new rivalry draft for the Pac-12 teams. Where's the new rivalry draft? I'm going to make them. I've got the scripts. It's just those productions are a little bit more, shall we say, involved. Okay, it requires a lot more time and effort and editing on my part. So I wanted to get that orientation film out there for you, something that I could spit out in a day's worth of editing rather than, a couple days worth of editing, which is still a little bit hard as we're wrapping up the school year here. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Now, I'm sure you are wondering, Clint, it's the Biggest 12. Did you forget? Why are you wearing a Mountain West hat? Why are you wearing this bizarre purple and silver Nintendo 64 looking conference logo on your head? Well, because, my friends, as I mentioned last week, it is Utah night. Probably better do it that way. Utah night on the Biggest 12. And I don't have a Utah hat. So this is in commemoration of TCU and Utah's genesis as rivals, a rivalry that we will be renewing here in very short order. And we're going to talk all about that. We got a great guest for you. Should be showing up here in about 5 minutes. And, we'll have our usual Biggest 12 happy, good time, fun, and all of that stuff. So let's check in with who's here in the chat. All right. Okay, so we got at least one Utah fan in the chat. Okay, yes. Thought you'd hop up and say you can't wait for the Big 12. Hey, I can't wait for y'all to join, man. I'm very excited. Very, very exciting. So here he is. I mentioned big guest coming in. He literally just popped into the lobby. So exciting. So, friends, put your key tapping fingers together for the one, the only, the Wild Ute. Here he is, folks. from the Big 12 Mafia Show. We've had Bomber on here before. Now we've got Wild Dude on here. Phil, my friend.
What's up?
How you doing, man? How are you?
Hey, living the dream. Happy Tuesday, Clint. Happy Tuesday, everybody out there. Happy to talk about some Utah football and how Utah's going to roll over the Big 12 this year.
That certainly is. That appears to be the party line out of Salt Lake City. And we'll get there in very short order. So first of all, did you have a great Easter weekend? How was your Easter?
Absolutely, great Easter weekend, and did a lot of kid things, a lot of Easter egg hunts for the kiddos and the like. And it was a nice time. How about you?
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, time with family, of course, went to church, and yes, good time of faith, fun, and fellowship and all that good stuff. I got to spend some really good time with the fam. My grandmother actually she's in hospice care right now, so it was really great to have the whole family together with her for what may potentially be our last time all together before she passes. But yeah, it was really great. It was really great. Really loved it. Lots of good food and lots of good family time. My mom's probably in the chat right now. So
welcome in the house.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Wild Ute, can you give the folks a sense of why is it Wild Ute? Who are you? What's your connection to Utah? Just walk us through it.
Yeah, so it's Wild Ute because I was a kid. Well, I was a Wildcat, K-State Wildcat kid growing up, and my family's all from Kansas City and outskirts of Kansas too, outside of KC. And I wanted to be a K-State alum when I was a kid, and we watched every game. My dad was a diehard. I loved the Cats growing up and stuff. Then when push came to shove, I actually decided to either go to K-State or the University of Utah. I made the decision to go to the University of Utah and kind of fell in love with the Utes when I actually went there. So I'm an alum of Utah, but I've always been a fan of K-State. So the Wild Ute actually is half K-State and half Utah.
Look at that. A combination of the two. Fantastic.
That's right.
Wonderful.
I live in Salt Lake City, though, and like a season ticket holder for the Utes and everything. That's really where most of my ether is kind of at right now and stuff, but I still follow the Cats.
Fantastic. Well, and now it's going to be even easier for you to follow both schools, right?
That's right.
Which, speaking of which, I mean, when the inevitable day comes and Utah plays Kansas State, I mean, is there any question in your mind who you're rooting for?
It's got to go for the Utes. I mean, the Utes, that's the
Yeah,
school that I attend, and my dad's going to be pissed off, but hey, he's just going to have to deal with that that day. But I'll always cheer for the Cats unless they're playing the Utes. That just really doesn't happen very often, at least historically. Going forward, it's going to. So
yeah,
it's going to be a tough day in our household.
It's going to change real soon. Okay, so let's start talking about 2023. Phil, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask every guest on this show. If you had to assign a letter grade to Utah's 2023 season that ended an 8-5 record, no appearance in the Pac-12 title game that year, how would you grade it? How would you grade 2023?
I would grade 2023 as a C-, possibly a D+. I thought it was a really disappointing year for the expectations. Last year, Kyle Whittingham mentioned that the Utes had the most talented roster it's ever had before. So hopes were high. The Utes were 3-0 and then went into Oregon State and lost the game. So that was a tough one. It actually might have been 4-0 going into that game. So
yeah, 4-0. You'd beaten UCLA at that point.
Yeah, right. And like in that UCLA game was a great game, beat a ranked opponent, then just kind of think the wheels fell off. You beat USC, then lost to Washington, and then get crushed by Arizona on the Pac-12 network. At least nobody saw that game because on the Pac-12 network, nobody saw it, right? I would imagine like viewership was like 50,000 or something like that. So that's the beauty of the Pac-12 network. If you lost, then no one's going to see it anyway.
All right, but I really went out for the Pac-12 network.
Yeah, that's right. But for all the talent the Utes had on the squad, really underperformed. And the reason for that is quarterback play. I mean, you don't have to be brilliant to come up with that. So Bryson Barnes played the whole year with Nate Johnson, those two players. Bryson started most of the year, and Bryson was a really good Ute. He walked onto the program and everything, but he just lacked the talent really to win the big-time football games that the Utes are expecting to win. And so really, if you chalk it up to anything, it was quarterback play. That created some problems too. There's been a lot of transfers from the program and some quarterback transfers too. And Cam Rising's now back in the saddle. So that's the reason for optimism for 2024. And that's a huge deal for the Utes. I mean, obviously, quarterback play is going to dictate everything in college football and football in general. But really having Cam Rising, who the last 2 seasons that's finished the whole season, he won 2 straight Pac-12 titles. The guy hasn't lost a conference championship, right, over the last couple seasons. So he is an absolute star. He's a gamer. He's a winner. And if he plays all season, he's going to win the Big 12. They really will. If he gets hurt, who knows? But if he plays all season, this squad is good enough to get to the playoff.
All right. So he's already thrown down the gauntlet. We're not even.
It just is what it is. I mean, like really, because that talent, that everything mentioned last year. I mean, a lot of it is coming back. The defense is stacked. There's some transfers that came in, so really the squad's very talented. This is one of the better Ute squads that they've ever fielded. And if Rising plays, then it's going to show. Yeah.
And Cam Rising, by the way, doing his best BYU impression. I think he's going to be like, what, 24, 25 next season?
26 or something, right?
Yeah.
25, 26.
Yeah. Who knew that y'all could do that too? I mean, go figure. Everybody's doing it these days, right? With COVID years and gray shirts and red shirts and all the kinds of shirts. If there was a high point last year for you, well, I mean, I think that C-, D+, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, if I was a Utah fan, I'd be looking at last year and be like, ugh, especially that Vegas Bowl against friggin' Northwestern. Oh my God. But if you had to say a high point of the season last year, where would you put it?
It's beating USC. USC is just fodder for the Utes, and over the years, I mean, that's half the reason they transferred to the Big 12 or Big 10. I mean, USC really just had no. Seriously, the Utes dominated the Trojans for many years, and like beating those guys down one last time before they hightailed out to the Big 10, it was wonderful, awesome to see in their house yet again and everything. So that was the high point of the season. I know we had lost a game before that, but really that was the high point, and like the optimism had rose again going into the next week, which was an Oregon game. And College Game Day was on site in Rice-Eccles, and the Utes just absolutely got floored versus Oregon. Tough game. So
that's the low point for you. Is that Oregon game the next week?
I think the low point probably was the Arizona game or that Northwestern result. I mean, like at the bowl game, a lot of players weren't playing. Nobody gave a crap, right? You've been to 2 Rose Bowls and you go back to the Vegas Bowl versus Northwestern. Like everyone thought the Utes were just going to blow them out. They just didn't bring any heart. There was no offense. It was a horrible result. That was probably the low point, actually, that Northwestern result. So there were high ups and low downs last year and everything, which is kind of interesting because usually with Utah, they're pretty steady, right? Like a Kyle Whittingham team.
Oh, yeah.
Usually, you wouldn't see that kind of stuff. But losing to Arizona the way the Utes did and Northwestern was shocking.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Utah under Kyle Whittingham, I think consistency. I mean, it's been like years and years and years at this point of just consistently solid teams year after year after year after year with Kyle Whittingham. And, I mean, shoot, he was there when Coach P was still at TCU. He's been there for a while doing his thing. But yeah, that Northwestern game, definitely a shocker. I was stunned by that result personally. But, you look, I mean, you talk about going into next season, and there's a lot of, rightful reason for optimism. A lot of talent on the defense, like you said. Cam Rising coming back. But what do you say to a skeptic who looks at Utah last season and is like, they say they're going to come to the Big 12 and just roll over everybody, but like there were at times that Utah didn't look all that impressive, specifically that Baylor game. You needed a missed pass interference call to beat Baylor 20-13. Baylor was terrible last year, right? And that's the only Big 12 team on your schedule. And, you can, of course, explain away, well, Northwestern, nobody wanted to play, nobody cared. But, you look at that Baylor game, you look at just the shellacking that y'all took from Oregon and from Arizona. Not that they were bad teams, but, 35-6 is 35-6, right? So what do you say to the skeptic about Utah going into their first season in the Big 12?
Expand your sample size.
Okay.
Look at the 5-year period, right? Like multiple Pac-12 titles, lots of 10-win seasons, like a lot of big wins. Guys, the Utes historically have lost games versus super talented teams, your Ohio State level, like your Oregon level, with like elite rosters like if you look at the talent composite based on 24/7, like top rosters, the Big 12 doesn't have any, none in the top 20. I'm serious,
Mhm.
Clinton. Like TCU, Utah have some of the most talented rosters in the Big 12, and like they're not in the top 20. So how has Utah performed compared to peer-like schools? Historically, very well.
Mhm.
And so it's because of coaching and quarterback play. So if you chalk it up to that and defense, right? So like if you chalk it up to that, Utah has everything coming back that it needs to have success in the Big 12. Uh, Once this next year is over and Stefan Rising leaves, that's going to be question mark, of course, quarterback position, everything. But for this year, when you've got basically a 7-year senior that's won multiple conference titles,
Mhm.
versus the likes of an Oregon and a USC and a Washington before, like in a UCLA and everything else that the Pac-12 had, those big brands. I mean, that's something. That really is something. And so the teams that Utah has played in historically, these USC teams were stacked with talent. And they still beat them. Really, like the losses came versus the elite rosters, talented
Mhm.
rosters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. I think you make an excellent point. Yeah. I think you make an excellent point to the skeptics. So let's go ahead and look at 2024. Let's pull up the schedule here. And what were your first thoughts whenever this thing became official? I mean, I know you're saying playoff or bust, man, but
Yeah,
walk me through your
yeah,
thoughts on this schedule here. Oop.
yeah. So once we pull that up, we can play the women's side too, if you want to talk about the women's side here. All
Yeah.
right, here let's take a look at the schedule. So I'm looking at Southern Utah, Baylor, Utah State, right? The top
Mhm.
three. Baylor's coming to Rice-Eccles Stadium. Before the Oregon shellacking last year, Utah was on like a 3 or 4 year win streak.
Mhm.
They don't lose very often at home, so
Right.
very good home game environment. So you'd think that they would pound off 3 wins right there. The big game of the year, actually, for the Big 12 is that Oklahoma State game. Utah
Definitely.
at Oklahoma State. That's going to be an absolute dog fight,
Mhm.
right? Going out to
Very tough
Stillwater and
place to
like
win. Very tough place to win.
absolutely. And I'm not saying that the Utes are going to go undefeated in the schedule. I don't think they are, but I could see a 1 or 2 losses on the schedule. One might be coming right there.
Mhm.
If there's like anywhere in the schedule that I could see like a loss, it's probably at Oklahoma State. Then Arizona with Jetfish leaving the program with what happened last year down in Tucson. It's revenge time. I can't
Sure.
wait to destroy them that game. Like the Utah's going to be ready for Arizona after what happened last year. I'm
Mhm.
very confident at home they're going to get it done. Arizona State's still rebuilding. TCU is always giving the Utes trouble. You know that. Freaking
Yeah.
TCU. That's like, yeah, that's a questionable game right there. I mean, like, I think that TCU's got some talent coming back. It might be a tough one. Houston still kind of putting things together at Houston. You think they'd get that done. At BYU's coming to Rice-Eccles, so that's going to be a tough game. But Utah's more talented than the Cougars. They do.
Mhm.
They basically beat the Cougars out at everything, at coaching, at quarterback talent, at defense. I mean, like, there's no reason you should lose that game. The only way you would lose it is because it's a rivalry game. Weird
Mhm.
stuff could happen, but I still think that's going to be a win at the end of the day. It's a home game. Then at Colorado could be a strange game. Iowa State coming in late in the year. Um, Iowa State's used to the cold, but it's going to be a cold weather game in altitude. I like the huge chances in that one. There's the
Mhm.
Cyclones think that they're going to get that game too. A lot of Cyclone fans do. It could be a tough one. And then at the end, finish the year at UCF, and like that's going to be another challenging game. But I'm looking at this roster, and there's as far as like expectations, the Utes should be favored in every game other than Oklahoma State, possibly, and
Mhm.
that might be a pick'em game.
Yeah.
So if you look at the reasons told you before, there's a lot of reasons for optimism. Looks like a 11-1, maybe
Mhm.
a 10-2 record.
Yeah. It's an extremely favorable schedule, right? I mean, the fact that you don't play Kansas State, you really only have one tough road game. I mean, the Oklahoma State game is really the only road game that you really raise your eyebrow at. I mean, I could see something utterly bizarre and weird happening at that UCF game, just because that would be
Right.
par for the course for them. But I mean, this you get most of your tough games. Well, I mean, yeah, your tough games like Iowa State, Arizona, TCU,
Arizona.
BYU, they're
Mhm.
all at home, right?
Right.
That's a huge benefit. And Colorado, you have late in the year, right? Colorado has tended to, well, I say tended to. We only have 1 year as a sample, but looked a lot stronger at the beginning of the year than they did at the end of the year.
Right.
Yeah, so in a conference that I believe is wide open, you miss Kansas State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, a
KU,
lot of top
right?
half of the conference teams, and that does definitely bode well for you. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, and KU.
Yeah,
So not
KU
just
too.
couple
Yes,
of Jayhawks, right? Or
yeah.
West
Kansas
Virginia, like you
is
mentioned, and
that's one
K
of my
State,
teams. I think is going to be in the title game. Honestly, I
right?
like
So
Kansas a
like
lot next year.
you miss a lot of those teams. I mean, Brett Yormark set the Utes up well,
Yeah,
very favorable. So thanks,
yeah.
Brett.
All
Appreciate
that
that.
whining on Twitter, I guess, got you
All
somewhere.
the squawking got you somewhere, man. There again, like there could be a sneaky loss somewhere. It could be at UCF. I mean, it could be in a rival game versus BYU if weird things happen, right? Like maybe Iowa State, but like, man, it seems pretty. I'm pretty comfortable to say a 10-2 is coming at least. And like
Yeah.
if it's anything less than a 10-2, it's going to be an epic fail. I think
Mhm.
this year.
Yeah. How excited are you, by the way, to have BYU back on the schedule, TCU back on the schedule? Is it a nuisance, or are you looking forward to it?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I love it, actually. I mean, growing. So when I was like in school, actually, I was the Utes were in the Mountain West, right? Like when
Hmm.
I think that's when you were in school too, and
Yeah.
we went to some games, right? And it was awesome watching Utah play BYU, just because after the game there would just be punches thrown like in the fans. That's like they would storm the field. I remember one year there like a bunch of my friends ran on the field after Utah won a rivalry game, and like they were getting in fights with the BYU players and stuff on the field. I know that's like, hey, not kosher and everything, but hey, you know what? You love that stuff as a college kid, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that's really where all the juice was coming from. So having that game back is pretty fun. And losing that USC game sucks for the Utes
Mm.
because there was kind of a budding rivalry kind of happening there too, where there was a lot of tension coming in there. And it was starting to form, and a lot of Ute fans really were happy about that. But the BYU game, that's the historical rival. So it's awesome to have it back. And then TCU, of course, like there's been some great matchups for Utah and TCU. A lot
Mhm.
of them on TCU's side, a lot of
Yeah.
blowouts on TCU's
The
side.
last two.
So
Yeah. The last two.
yeah, right. You remember that game on the Mountain Channel? Like it was like number 3 Utah versus number 5 TCU, and it was on the Mountain Channel
Is
back
this
in the
the one that
day.
was at Rice Eccles in 2010, or the one that was at TCU in 09?
No, it was at Rice Eccles, and y'all
Yeah.
blew us out by like 70.
Yes. Yeah. And what made me so furious is that y'all turned around the next week and laid an egg against Notre Dame. And I was like,
Yes,
are you freaking kidding me? I was like, y'all gonna
right,
make this win look like it was nothing? Like, I know
right,
y'all have a good team. Like, what's wrong with you?
yeah.
Yeah, that was our Rose Bowl season. That was my sophomore year in college. Um, yeah, and
That was a
Rice
few
Eccles
weeks of
is
pain too. I was at that TCU game. It was horrible. The
mm,
worst game I've ever been to. Then I traveled to South Bend the next week and watched the Utes lose at Notre Dame. A
oh
horrible stretch right there, Glenn.
terrible, absolutely terrible. Yeah, but good time, good time. That's why I had to bust out the Mountain
Yeah,
West hat,
man.
man. I had to in honor of the rivalry being renewed. Well, let me ask you this too, and this kind of plays into the game that we're going to play here in a little bit. What are your thoughts, opinions on Utah kind of inhabiting this new role as the Big 12's heel? Right. Some of this is just entirely Twitter created for people who are chronically online, but it kind of feels like it's just it's Utah's playing into this role of like, especially with Texas gone, the new team that everyone's gonna love to hate, the black hat, if you will. How do you feel like there's any truth in that? And if so, do you love it? Are you like, oh yes, put on the fatigues, like we'll be the bad guys any day? Or how do you feel about
So yes, Utah is going to be the heel, and I freaking love it. I love being the heel, right? Because like here, like if you're in Salt Lake City, if you're in the state of Utah, like BYU has always been the goody two shoe school, right?
Sure.
So Utah has always had a little bit more swagger, more of like the bad boy, which might sound silly if you're outside the state of Utah because you're
The
like freaking
bad
Utah, right?
boys of Utah.
Right? Like yeah, yeah. So inside the state, it's always kind of had that dynamic, and so that's no problem at all for Ute fans because of that dynamic that exists with the Cougars, right? And like in bringing that on for the rest of the Big 12, it's just good for the Utes. It's good for the Big 12 to have a team like that. Because I'll be honest, last year was a little bit weird. Like without the Utes and the Big 12 and all that love fest that was going on with the new members, I was like, what's going on here? There's like, where's the juice, right?
Yeah.
Where's the hate? Come on,
Mhm.
where is the passion, man? Like there's just nothing there. It was like a love fest. Like BYU's handing out donuts to folks during like home games, right? These Cougar
Yeah.
tails, and like I just don't get that. Like, I mean, that's not what the Utes are going to bring. There's going to
Yeah.
be conflict. It's going to
Yes.
be chippy. You're not going to like us, and that's good. That's actually good for the Big 12.
Mhm.
Builds intrigue.
Yeah, yeah, you make a good point. I mean, college football hate makes it so much better, right? College football is all about good old fashioned sports hate. And I had Bummer on the show. Geez, this might have been like a month or so ago at this point. Whenever I had BYU night, and yeah, we were talking about this whole man. It's so cool and like it's the Big 12's like this big family, and it was like all of us versus the world, and like screw Oklahoma and Texas, and like you look forward to playing each other, but yeah, it was like the closest thing in the new group that we had to a heel was like UCF, just because they were like mildly annoying on Twitter and like picking fights with Cyclone Larry and stuff. But yeah, Utah brings in this whole other dimension. And yes, I agree. I love that you're embracing it and that other Utah fans are embracing it, because I do think it adds a fun new dimension, especially
And to
all the
be
trash
the
talk.
here's the thing too. To be the
Mhm.
heel, you have to be at least somewhat respected.
Sure.
Like your talent, your ability for your program. Because if you're just like going to get rolled over, you can't be a heel.
Mhm.
So it's actually in a way a sign of respect for the Utah program, which is something that we'll adopt and everything else. But like as far as like trying to bring it to other folks, well, we're happy to do it. And again, like it's a big win for the conference because we really need to grow this conference now. The Utes are going to be in the Big 12 for a while. Like
Mhm.
everyone's going to be here. Like we need to eat up the ACC. We need to become the A3. We need to grow. We need to make more money, Clint. A lot
Mhm.
more money than we're making now. And the way
Mhm.
we're going to make more money is by having games like that have tension, everything, rivalry games, having heels like maybe a UCF or a Utah, so people actually care to
Mhm.
watch, right? So it's
Right.
actually good for the Big 12 overall, and it's good for the Utes. It's a win-win.
Yeah, you mentioned it. We could take a brief detour into this because I know that on Big 12 Mafia, y'all cover realignment a lot, which, by the way,
Right.
folks, if you are not already watching Big 12 Mafia, go subscribe to them as well. You absolutely should. It's a fantastic show. Who is on your wish list from the ACC? If it falls apart tomorrow and Florida State and Clemson are joining whoever else, who are
Yeah.
you really wanting to pick up?
The one school that I don't think's going to be there, but I want is Miami. And I
Hmm.
think that most Big 12 fans want Miami.
Yeah.
Don't think it's overly realistic. Some Big 12 fans do. I just don't think they're going to be there. That's who I want. Who I think we can get, who's a really good fit, is Louisville. I
Hmm.
think that's the first domino right there. I think that Louisville could be like the Colorado in this realignment scenario and everything. Pluck Louisville over, and then could be a free fall of a few other schools, kind
Hmm.
of like when Colorado made the move and the Four Corners came. So
Hmm.
my heart says Miami, but my brain says really Louisville. Yeah,
Yeah.
for this one.
I mean, Louisville would be such a natural fit too, with between West Virginia, Cincinnati, and TCU all having history with Louisville. I mean, yeah, they and another travel partner for West Virginia and Cincinnati and Iowa State. Yeah, they would slot in perfectly. So, would you want to be adding 4 more total, or like what would you see happening? Make it a 20?
I want Brett Bjormark to make that determination based on how much more money can come to the
Mm-hmm.
coffers, because right now money is the issue. We're sitting at $31 million in media rights distributions versus the SEC and the Big Ten's 80 million, like
Mm-hmm.
75 to 80 million. Like we're way behind. So I don't care who we add as long as they add more money to each school, really. I think the way to do that is to add rivalries, though, and like a Louisville ad. You
Mm-hmm.
pair that, and all of a sudden with Cincinnati, there's a rivalry game you add. It's close by. They watch over there, Louisville fans. So anyone that can really enhance the value of the conference, and that actually would eliminate a lot of the basketball only ads. I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's
I
stupid.
agree. Yeah.
Like, what's the upside of that? How are they going to add value? Like, we need money.
Yeah.
And basketball does not bring in money, y'all. Basketball brings in a fifth of the money of football. So
Mm-hmm.
we need football ads that are strong brands for Big 12 level. We're not going to eat first. We're not going to be the first ones to add teams. Yeah. I think Louisville is the one natural to go after. And then we'll see what happens there. If that's a 2 or 4 or 6, your mark make that determination.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of teams on that East Coast that I know West Virginia would love to have. We
Yeah.
usually have a lot of West Virginia fans in the chat, looking at Pitt, looking at Virginia Tech, maybe an NC State. Everyone's darling this March Madness. Yeah, see what
Right.
happens. Okay, so got a game for you. In the spirit of Utah being the new self-proclaimed and also proclaimed
Heel.
by everyone else heels of the conference, we're going to
Yep.
look at great anti-heroes. Okay. I didn't want to go full villains, but some of these are the 20 greatest anti-heroes that popped into my mind, and we're gonna make a tier list. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay,
Let's do
great.
it.
So in the spirit of the Utah Utes, we've got okay. So here's the tier list for you right here. Got several guys, and it's your tier list, right? So you're
Is that
ranking them.
Batman right there? You
That is
got
okay. Yes. So that
throw
might be a
Batman
bit
at tier S.
okay.
Give
Yeah,
me
I was gonna
Batman.
say I don't know. Some people it might depend on the generation of Batman, right? Like to me, Batman is an anti-hero because he's not the hero that Gotham deserves, but he's the hero Gotham needs, right? He's working outside the law in a lot of cases. So yes, we'll just go ahead and start it. Batman, you say obvious S tier.
There we
Yes.
go. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Utah is
Everybody loves Batman.
Batman, everybody. Utah is
Everybody loves
Batman.
Batman. Yes. Okay. So next person I got for you. So have you seen A Clockwork
Orange, dude?
Yes.
That guy's
Yes.
creepy, man. Put that in D. That's definitely not Utah, man.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie though?
Yeah, I've seen the movie, but he still creeps me out. Look at that face.
Yeah, I mean,
Wasn't he reformed though? He's like a reformed guy at the end of it, right? Isn't that the whole?
Well, it's all about psychological horror and fascism and all of that fun stuff. Yeah, he's definitely not one of the more fun anti-heroes. Definitely. Okay, I got next Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay, this is Sonic the Hedgehog's like moody emo alter ego. Definitely, I think fits the anti-hero archetype. Do you have any just big opinions on Shadow the Hedgehog?
He's fast, man. Like
that is true.
Fast in the
he
video
is fast.
games and everything. I like his outfit. He's cool looking too. So I don't see a lot of interconnectedness with the Utes there, though. As cool as he is, so we'll put him in a C category.
Okay, so you're ranking them also on Utah-ness, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This is like likened to Utah here from a Ute mind.
Okay.
So it's got Batman in S category.
Relative Utah oeuvre. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, right. Batman S tier. Okay. All right. This to me is another S tier. Clint Eastwood's most famous character, the man with no name from the Dollars trilogy, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. In my opinion, the greatest Western of all time, made by an Italian, because naturally. Where would you put the man with no name?
Yeah, throw him in S category.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. He's a bounty hunter. Yes, welcome in, Devil Frog. You're just in time for us to rank heels. Okay, next up, Tony Soprano. I got a couple of mafia adjacent folks in here. Where are you putting Tony Soprano? Have you seen The Sopranos?
I have seen The Sopranos, and I'll throw him into B tier.
Okay. Why only B for you? Is it the therapy that you don't like?
He's not quite the you're saying like this is the anti-hero and everything, but I just never found him to be a likable guy and everything.
Well, so. yes, true. Speaking, by the way, of HBO shows, it literally occurs to me as I'm doing this, I should have gotten Omar from The Wire on here. So since I don't have him, have you seen The Wire? Where would you put Omar?
I haven't seen The Wire, so
oh my god! Okay, Philip, you got to see. Watch The Wire. Watch The Wire. It's one of those things that like middle-aged men tell you that you should watch, and for the longest time I was like, oh yeah, I'll get around to it. I finally watched it this past summer. It is so good, so good. So watch The Wire. Omar is S tier. Okay, another character who's like not likable really at all, but Charles Foster Kane from Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Where would you put CF Kane?
He's like a super rich guy, right?
Is that correct? He's the William Randolph Hearst of the story.
We'll throw him in A tier.
Okay, yeah. Super rich guy, thinks he can buy happiness, but he's haunted by a lost childhood. His final word, Rosebud. Spoiler alert, everybody. It's because he missed his childhood that he never got. But, it's a great flick. Okay, Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Definitely.
Yeah, throw him in D tier.
Oh, D tier. Oh, wow. Okay. You're going to have to defend that one, Phil.
Jack just gets lucky a lot. And
true.
I feel like, the Utes are a program and stuff that don't happen to get lucky too often. They have to do it like the hard way and everything. So there's no connectedness between Utah football and Jack Sparrow.
Okay. Purely Utah. Okay. But if we were just, so we're divorcing Utah from it. Do you like the Jack Sparrow character?
No, I don't like Jack Sparrow at all. Put him in D.
Okay. All right. There we go. What about Loki? Loki
S. Throw Loki into S tier.
Okay. Why S for Loki?
Loki is like, look, I know that we're moving Utah away from everything here, but I think Loki is very akin to what the Utes bring to the Big 12 and stuff, like a powerful character and everything that's a little divisive and everything, has some good, some bad, some sweet. Like, you never know what you're going to get with him, but he is very powerful. So I think S is a good fit.
Okay, yeah, I'm vibing with that explanation. Have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
No.
Oh my god, man. So I don't know if you play many games. This is one of the greatest games of all time. The main character, Arthur Morgan, is an outlaw, is a member of an outlaw gang that, there's a lot of role playing to this, but like if you're playing by canon, like Arthur finds out he's going to die, right? And he sets about like trying to make things right and saving certain members of the gang from the gang itself. He's an S tier character. I wish you had any frame of
Put him in
reference.
S tier then. Put him in S tier.
Trust me.
Great.
Trust me, he's S tier. It's one of the best stories in any video game. It's incredible. So there
Clint,
you go.
Who the heck is this next guy?
Okay, so this is from the Martin Scorsese movie Taxi Driver. Golly, what's the main character's name? Well, anyway, he's like a Vietnam veteran. He's very like messed up in the head, and he really sees himself as a hero. He murders like a pimp, and he wants to murder like a politician because he like sees them as like taking advantage of people. And anyway, Taxi Driver is a very dark movie, but this is You Talking to Me. You Talking to Me. That's what that's from. Is this character?
Yeah. Great explanation. Put him in C tier.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. He's not a likable guy, and it's it's typical Scorsese movie, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen, De Niro, yes, Devil Frog, you're right, it is Robert De Niro, but I can't remember his character's name in the movie. So if anybody can remember the main character's name in Taxi Driver, drop it in the chat. We'll shout it out. Okay, back to the Batman DC universe. Catwoman, yes. Where are you putting Catwoman?
Okay, so Catwoman usually, without the Utes association here, Catwoman's an S character, right?
Okay.
Because this is like the Utah time, we'll put him in A. I'll put Catwoman in A category here.
Okay.
Just slightly below.
How come?
Because Catwoman's an awesome character, right? Like, I mean, really, Catwoman, strong, like, she's kind of sneaky too, right? And like she gets stuff done, like in the shadows and everything. And I just like that. It's just much similar to Batman in a lot of ways.
True. Just a little more like robbery.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Devil Frog. Travis Bickle. That's Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver. Travis Bickle. There you go. Okay. Walter White or Heisenberg when he wears the hat. Where are we? This is my favorite TV show of all time. Where are we putting Walter White of Breaking Bad?
I think that Walter goes into A category as well.
Okay. Why not S?
Just not quite as likable some as the S characters.
Well, certainly. I mean, yes, this is a guy who truly descends into evil and is a terrible person. Right, an absolutely terrible person by the end of the show. So yeah, if you're going to relate it to Utah, kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, we're terrible people. Okay. Anti-hero may be a stretch, but certainly there's a lot of battle in this character's psyche. Gollum, Smeagol, Lord of the Rings.
Dude, Gollum is an interesting character. I love the Gollum character from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Super dorky about Lord of the Rings.
Oh man, I adore Tolkien. I love Tolkien.
Oh gosh, so I'm saying A tier for Gollum.
Okay,
and just because Gollum's just so crazy, like he's like a 180 personality. He's good when he's Smeagol, when he's Gollum, he's just absolutely bat crap crazy, and like he just gets stuff done too. Like he takes on everybody to get what he wants.
True.
It's almost an A. That's almost an S level. We'll keep him an A, but I think Gollum's strong.
If Utah had a Gollum Smeagol style split personality, what would the two personalities be?
What? What?
You can move on from that.
I think So if Utah had the two personalities, like Gollum, okay,
Yeah.
so I think that like hard work and commitment would be one side of it too.
Okay.
And then the other side of it would be like a scream for respect because of the disrespect that you often get and have historically gotten because of the G5 status and trying just to be considered one of the big boys.
All
So
right.
like commitment and then also, yeah, like really wanting to get the respect when people dog Utah, like it really inflames the fans, pisses them off, right? And that's like the Gollum nature of a Utah fan.
There you go. Hey, you turned that curveball into a base hit. Good job, Wild. Okay. All right. Wario from
Dude, D category, no. How's he even on this list? How are you gonna put Wario on this? Does he doesn't win anything.
Well, he's the
It's
main
not like
character in
Bowser.
several games. He's the main character in several games.
Bowser would be an S, but Wario, no.
But Bowser's actually a villain. Bowser's not an anti-hero.
Hey, you know what? Utah will be Bowser. I don't care if they're the villain, right? Like Bowser's S.
Okay. Well, Bowser would be an S. Okay. I literally put this together like immediately before the show. I was like, I need a game. Okay. I don't know if you've seen Dune 2 yet, but Paul Atreides, definitely an anti-hero. How do you feel about Paul Atreides?
Why don't you rate this one, Clint?
I mean, I loved Dune 2. I thought it was fantastic. Definitely not a good person by the end of Dune 2 after he drinks the worm juice. But just on I mean, I think I could see him being Utah-y, right? He goes to the south, he gets all these religious zealots on his side, and then he's like, send him to paradise, right? He's like gonna send him to the slaughter to elevate himself to being this like god emperor. I could see him being an S tier. I don't know. Have you seen Dune yet?
I haven't seen that, so
Okay.
you're gonna rate that one. You put him wherever you want.
I'll put him S. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. See Dune, man. It's good. It's really good. Dune 2 was spectacular. And you got to watch the first one to understand the second one. So see it, carve out 6 hours of your life and see those two movies. Saul Goodman of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fame. Where we putting Saul?
I don't know a ton about Saul. Seen him like a few times, so I'll throw him in B category.
Okay. Check out Better Call Saul. It's another great show.
Yeah.
Some people like it even better than Breaking Bad. Okay. Michael Corleone from The Godfather.
Dude, oh, yeah, that's an S.
Okay.
S.
All right. Explain your answer.
Michael gets stuff done. Michael absolutely gets stuff done.
He does.
He runs a huge crime family. He took over for The Godfather. Like, he just gets things done that have to happen, even if it's super difficult, i.e. Fredo. What happened to Fredo on that boat? So
he broke his heart. He broke his heart.
Michael's gonna win, and I like that. So S.
Okay. The Hulk. Where are we putting the Hulk?
The Hulk is kind of a lame character in a lot of ways. So
okay.
Hulk and C level.
Okay, C level for the Hulk. I got next Snake from Escape from New York.
Yeah, this guy, this is an interesting guy. He's completely like a Western rogue dude, but like he's kind of a protector too, right? Mm-hmm. So I like him. We'll put him in A category.
Okay, A category for Snake. By the way, Devil Frog, he vehemently disagrees with your Saul Goodman pick. Saul Goodman equals S tier. Dude is a maniac. That is true. Yes, that is true. Gotta watch the show. All right, last one for you. Number 20, Wolverine, one of the original comic
S.
Okay. Why S?
Because Wolverine is the coolest freaking character in the whole X-Men series. Like the claws, everything about Wolverine. He's got swag. I love that. I think that youths would be happy to be like a Wolverine-like character. So
all right.
Category. There you go. A lot of S's here. A lot of S's, a couple D's.
Yeah. Hey, good job, though. I'm all about it, man. There you go. This is your official Utah University and TM endorsed by the university, right? This is a graduate of the university.
That's right.
Tier list of anti-heroes as they pertain to Utah-ness. There we go. Well, man, thank you so much for jumping on. I know you got to go over to your other show, to Big 12 Mafia tonight. So before you do, Tell the people where they can find you. Tell them where they can tune in to Big 12 Mafia. Plug your stuff, all the things.
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me over at the College Football Mafia, Big 12 Mafia channel. We talk a lot of college football news, most recent news that pops up, a lot of realignment. So jump over there to find us. I do a series called Wild Ute University too, and that breaks out like more stat-based, database realignment candidates actually to take a deep dive and see if they're fit in a conference. So check that out too. So you can find me.
Yeah, if you're a realignment fan, you absolutely have to be tuning into Big 12 Mafia. It is one of the best shows I've seen in regards to all of that and the rumor mill with all of that stuff. These guys are plugged in. They know what they're talking about. It's good stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Wild Ute, for being with me. This has, of course, been the Biggest 12. Subscribe, people. Do it at Big 12 Voice of College Football. Every Tuesday night, we get the Biggest 12 and lots more great shows. You want to be a part of it. Also, follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, at Clint_Foster55. There it is. We're running across the bottom. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, at Clint Foster Comedy. Like I said, new video for you out there. Check it out. Utah's kind of a main character in the video, so you should watch it. If you're watching this episode, I know you care about Utah. Check it out. So until next Tuesday, which next Tuesday will be Houston week. Get excited for that. Houston week. Until then, y'all have a fantastic week. Be safe. Love you. I hope your team wins. Go Big 12.
Go Utes.
Have a good one.